How's it going? Taylor Erickson with Erickson Build Co. We are out here on site. New build project we've got out on some acreage. About 4 months in here at this point. Talking through some of the unique features of this house, some of the products that we're using out here. A little bit of a behind the scenes peek at what's going on throughout the course of the project. As you see at the framing stage at this point, but this thing's gonna continue to change here pretty rapidly over the next several months. And the idea is to be able to walk through each of those various stages and show progress and how we're getting from a flat piece of ground to a finished product over the course of a year and a half. This Finnstrom tape, this will be how we seal the bottom of our zip to the foundation wall. So when we get over in that spot, we've used that a couple times here recently. We've used liquid flash as well. This tape just seems to be a lot more efficient and still gives us a pretty darn good air seal. So when we get over to the house, we'll talk about that a little bit. When we were out here at the foundation stage, the foundation walls around the garage looked like they were sticking up, way out of the ground, which was part of the design and just the way that the lot works and the existing grade. And so our excavator spent a bunch of time last week bringing grade up around that garage. As you can see, we're dumping some more dirt. We've got to work that around that driveway. We'll swing right in through this area, swing around to the garage side over there. So you can see a little bit of that exposed waterproofing membrane, that drain board that we've got on the outside. That grade's still got to come up and then around that corner. Really starts to paint a good picture of what this thing's going to look like as we start getting closer to our final grade here. Our exterior sheeting over here, so we're using zip. That's pretty much a standard for us on all of our projects. On this project, we've got the zip R3, so we've got a 1/2 inch of exterior insulation on that zip, so that gives us a continuous insulation around the exterior. As this gets finished, the zip will get extended down, and then that Finnstrom tape we were just talking about, pretend this zip extends all the way down, covers our sill plate right here. That Finnstrom tape will wrap from the zip down onto the foundation wall right here. And then this is all that brick ledge where our brick will sit, so we'll waterproof then behind the brick up to our Finnstrom tape. Really shouldn't have grade up on that brick much at all, but we'll still waterproof just to be safe there. And then again, you can see a little bit of our drain board that's still peeking out right there. As I'm walking around, just right in the middle of the framing stage here, so don't jump all over me. Everything's still got to be taped. Yes, zip extended, we'll get all that done. This roll of pipe that's sitting right here, this runs off of that E1 grinder pump system that we talked about a few weeks back. What that does, from the house, we drain out to that system, and then that's pressurized into this line, runs underground through this foundation wall and up, and then probably pretty darn close to somewhere right over in here is where our septic tanks will sit, and then our septic field will be way back over there. As we set our septic tanks here, we've got enough fall over the lot so that we can gravity drain from the septic tanks to the septic field, so we don't have to put another pump in. With our septic tanks set out in this area, somewhat close to where the final driveway will be, so when it comes time to service and maintain that over the years, they've got a 100-foot tube on the truck, they can get over here. So down here at the basement level, had a video a few weeks back of concrete, flat work going in. All the floor joists are set. This particular project, we've got 18-inch I-joists. Those are all hung from most areas, those are hung from the top plate. It's like right over in this area. We've got our top plate detail on top of the foundation wall, and they hang from that top plate with this special bracket and then sit down below that. In this spot, we've got a little foundation jump, and we sit on top of the foundation wall through there. But this whole ceiling throughout the basement will all get dropped. So we are probably 10.5 feet. We're gonna drop this an additional foot to 9'6", with the idea that all of our ductwork, plumbing, electrical, anything that can't run through the joist will sit underneath that, and then we'll come back and frame that ceiling in so that we don't have any additional soffit drops or anything like that down here. I get the roof framed, get that sheeted. They'll probably jump back down here, get our interior walls in the basement framed and ready to go. Really cool to see the stair opening right here. That's where the stairs will come down from this side, landing, turn back and come the rest of the way. There's a big window right there because that's the rough opening for it, and then we'll have like an open handrail across this side and then handrail down this side, so when the stairs come down from there, landing, turn, the rest of the steps down this way. These recessed areas, these are all our mechanical areas, and so when you step into that room, that'll be recessed again in case you ever had an issue with a water heater or something else. We've got floor drains where you see all this water built up in these spots. That water is hitched to the floor drain location because those are all tied in, running out to that E1 pump that we've got out there. we keep those taped and covered during construction so that we're not getting, you know, excess water and debris and all that kind of stuff. So our water line too brought in up through the floor. We had the ability to do that, so we don't have to make a penetration through our waterproof foundation wall. So bring that up in that spot. We looked at this a while back too. That generator's running, so it's kind of loud, but that hole cut through the foundation wall that we had to put in, we've got our steel lintel across there now, and so that'll step into the suspended garage space. So we've still got a couple steel beams coming for in there, and then we'll put our corrugated steel, get that garage floor poured. Most in-town houses, you're hauling all of that soil off because you don't have space for it. Yeah. But like a project out here, because the grade had to change so much and you got so much space to burn it, you don't have to haul any of it off because you're just gonna use it all to grade out the house, you know. We've obviously started on the backfill. We were showing you the other side, so this is the north side looking into the garage. We still got obviously some massive dirt piles here. We're gonna end up using all the dirt that came out of the hole just to shape the grade, you know, of what will be the eventual yard. And we've even brought in some more dirt in some areas. We're gonna burn so much up, shaping in and around the driveway and some other various areas. So the point being is we save on trucking costs because you're not digging that dirt and then hauling it all out because you've got the ability to use it all. So it's a nice benefit when you've got the space to work. Kind of give you an idea of how much progress was made last week. So we're filming this on a Monday. Last Monday, we came to the job site. Subfloor was down across the entire house, but we didn't have any first floor walls stood up. So all of this progress that you're seeing all happened over the course of a week. The way that happens is, you know, the owner of the company has been awesome. He's on site. We're meeting out here. We're working through details. And then the one thing that I made a comment to several people that I just thought was fascinating last week, and shouldn't be surprised, but 8 or 9 different guys working here, and there's not standing around and talking and you know, wasted efficiency, I guess. Everybody knows exactly what their role is and what they're to be doing at that point. And so if you look around, it's just everybody's got a little segmented area that they are just cruising through. You know, that efficiency is how you make this much progress in a week. So I'll give Dylan, one of our employees that we haven't introduced yet because we need to get him out on a job when we're filming, but he came up with this idea. So these little containers here around these stakes that we've got, it's just a spot for us to try to help keep the job site clean. So as guys are, you know, drinking water, it's been 95, 100 degrees out here, throwing that all away at the end of the day, any other scrap material, anything like that. And then we can take those zip ties off there and use the forks on the skid steer, load that thing up and drop it into the dumpster. Not anything special, but just thought that was a cool idea that he came up with. You know, we're always trying to do whatever we can to make our job sites the most presentable and look the best at any point in time. When people share a different idea or a different product or something that they've came up with to make things a little bit easier, it's just we can see that and then we can be like, man, that's an awesome idea. That's a great detail. Like we're gonna you know, try to integrate that in our projects. And so I don't know if that's where this one came in particular, but there's no shortage of information out there, and we'll regularly send these back and forth, you know, just a direct message or whatever if we see something that we think is a great idea, something that we should just try to implement. And so we've got a few others off the top of my head that I know that will be coming, one in particular on just how we're gonna seal any plumbing or electrical penetrations through our zip wall, and it was just a unique concept using some zip stretch tape, and saw it on Instagram, and so we're gonna implement that. So we've already got that process in place. So I think that's the cool thing about just social media in general is the amount of information out there and people willing to share it, and you know, it's really, lack of a better term, like making everybody in the industry better if you're sharing that information and then other people implementing that on their projects. Let's go over here. So on this project, we're using the AdvanTech X-Factor. First project for us using this product, not that much different than, you know, AdvanTech's regular subfloor, except that it has this yellow coating on top of it, easier to clean up, easier to mark. So as we move a little further along and we start getting mechanical and plumbing and electrical in here, and then even down to marking out cabinet plans, things along those lines, and you go to mark or snap lines or, you know, Sharpie, whatever that is, just shows up a lot better here. And then, you know, the cleanup is pretty nice too. This little space right through here is recessed. So as you see, if you're looking through, this will get furred up, but stepping into this space, this is recessed from the rest of the subfloor. And the reason being is this is going to be into the bathroom where we've got, you know, a tile By recessing that a little bit gives us the ability to use a thicker tile and still flush up to our hardwood flooring on the outside. So we don't end up with a situation where our tile might be a little thicker and then we've got a little 1/8 or 1/4 inch lip from hardwood to tile. It's a little toe stubber. So recessing that works nice. You can build that up to the exact height that you need. What I was gonna show you is this stuff. Oh man. So this subfloor, this is this AdvanTech X-Factor, but it's 1 1/8 thick. So typical subfloor thickness, I would say, is 3/4 of an inch, but that 1 1/8 stuff, I mean, you just get a lot more beef to it. Setting it down there, it gives you a firmer floor. The only disadvantage is these things are heavy. So the guys out here that are putting them down are working a little bit harder just because they're trying to muscle around these big, heavy 1 1/8 sheets of subfloor. Cool. I know.
What is the most difficult part of this house? I mean, like in terms of framing, like engineering wise, was there anything in here that was like, it's taking a little bit more planning? Or?
Are you still rolling? So if I say something good? Anything super difficult? I mean, the hangers, the top mount hangers that sit on top of the sill plate running around the outside, I don't know that they're necessarily difficult, but they're not super common. So they're not stocked locally. So just, you know, planning ahead, having those when we need them, that's just a little bit different of a wrinkle. You know, just some of the elevation changes on the floor, things like that, you know, we'll see, I guess, when they get to framing up the roof. This is, it's steep. There's some areas where we've got a 14-12 roof pitch. So just the logistics of working on something like that make it a little bit challenging because you obviously can't stand and walk that. So you gotta be strapped off and makes that a little bit more challenging. This is that zip sheeting. So normal sheeting is just 3/4 of an inch. Like what you would, there's quite a few people, are you filming? Yeah?
Yeah.
There's quite a few contractors that I see locally that are, you know, they're using some sort of exterior insulation, but I would say more often than not, you might see people using zip here in town, so you'll know by the green structure on the outside, but most of the time it's just the sheeting right here. There's no insulation attached. And then the other way that you'll see it is instead of this being green, this will just be like a standard plywood, and then they're putting like a Tyvek or something like that on top of this. We like the zip product just from an air sealing detail and ease of use and things like that. I'm not saying that the Tyvek is wrong or anything along those lines, but we like the zip product, the way seams get taped and everything gets airtight, and then, you know, just adding the insulation component with it just gives you that full exterior insulation that bridges. Normally, house gets framed, I guess I could step back. House gets framed, you got your wall studs, your sheeting gets nailed on top of that, so you've got sheeting to stud, you insulate between here, but there's really no thermal bridging between your sheeting and your stud and then your drywall on the inside. So by this continuous exterior insulation, break that thermal bridge between the stud and the sheeting, and then we'll insulate the interior of these walls and end up with probably around an R26, I think, something like that, on our wall cavities for our R value insulation. We've got a few areas where we used these LSL studs. So these are like an engineered stud, and the reason for that is they're dead straight. You know, sometimes lumber from the lumber yard can have a little bit of twist to it. These LSLs being dead straight, in a few spots where we know, you know, just it's going to be difficult. You're going to have a ton of sunlight coming in both directions, so it's going to show any imperfection in that wall. And so some of the areas where we knew would be noticeable, we're using these LSL studs, give us a nice straight wall to finish to, help prevent any finishing issues when you get a lot of light coming in from both doorways in this area. They call those moment frames. So in certain spots where we've got these big openings, you know, door systems in these two situations, the engineers specify that, but I guess you can't get the stability you need by a wood framing detail that tall, and so these moment frames are made by the steel company. So our framer gets the rough openings of the windows and doors, whatever is going in here, and then coordinates with them on getting these things built, and they come out, get installed, bolted together, welded in place and then attached to the foundation wall. So you get this super secure structure, and then they'll frame up to that, get that all tied in.